What is going on, my Walking Dead fans? I'm croweagleatwar, and today's video is about the day will come when you won't be. Recap, breakdown, spoiler free as much as possible, guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you missed the season 7 premiere of The Walking Dead, here's a recap, breakdown, all in all. We're going to get to it, what it means. Before you leave, make sure you curb stomp that like button for me, as it really helps me out, guys. And don't forget to subscribe for more great coverage on this season of The Walking Dead. Starting the episode off, we have Negan and Rick in a very deep and frightening stare down. Rick is trembling with tears in his eyes as he just witnessed a family member that just died. Negan begins to talk about a right-hand man, and Negan makes a comment to remind Rick that he just offed a right-hand man. Maybe. And makes a slight joke about it. Rick is still terrified, and this is Negan's first attempt to start breaking Rick down. He asks one of his right-hand men, "What did Rick come in with?" And he replies, "A hatchet and axe." Now, this axe plays a very important role in this episode. Throughout the whole episode, it's there. So pretty much, Negan's had enough. He's tired of the games. He's ready to just go ahead and get going with the program. Grabs Rick by the collar, manhandles him, drags him into that RV and slams him down. Slams down that axe right into the table. Then there you go. He leaves it to Rick to sit there and make his next move. Now, Negan's a smart guy. He's ahead of the game at all times. So now it's time for him to make that next move, and basically Negan is waiting. He's waiting for him to make that move, and there's a serious stare down with Rick and that axe, and you know he has his mind set on a prize. But guys, you just gotta wait and watch just to find out how it goes down. And at that very point, Negan is showing Rick that he no longer has control of the situation, and thereon and forward. Rick is now understanding his own limits, and he has none anymore. Negan's starting to drive off, and he's mocking Rick during that little drive off, and he's showing him how childish he sounds. He sounds like a child having a temper tantrum in a store. So they're driving into an unknown zone. It's foggy, and you start hearing zombies thumping on the RV, and he winds up hitting a few of them, and guts and just nastiness hits that window. And so Negan makes a comment, and he says, "Oh, does that remind you of someone?" And at this point, Negan is telling Rick, this is what happens when you step out of line, and you will be constantly reminded of the consequences. And it pans over to Rick, and he's freaking out. And at this point, again, we see Rick losing touch with reality, and it's slipping away. It goes back to Rick's point of view during the lineup. So from there on, it shows who dies, and then it talks about everything that happened from the point that we missed at the end of season 6, and then where it left off on the beginning. But it goes back, so it kind of goes back and forth for just a minute, and then it all sums it up. And now it's to the point where Negan makes a stopping point and reminds Rick that everything Rick owns is now Negan's, from Rick's equipment down to his team and family. Everything is Negan's. Negan opens the door, fights off a few zombies, then proceeds to throw the hatchet on top of the RV and tells Rick to go fetch it. Then shows Rick out of the RV. Rick, he's out there alone. And at this point, Negan is the ruler of the roost, and that's what he's showing him. And when Negan tells Rick to jump, Rick should say how high, and now Rick is fighting for his life. He's terrified, and he's starting to go through everything in his head, trying to get his hatchet. And while doing this, Rick's having flashbacks of everyone that he remembers. Eventually, Rick retrieves the hatchet, and Rick thinks he has a moment of peace, and he starts to visualize all of his friends and family surrounding the table for dinner and socializing. So now Negan isn't finished breaking Rick down, and he isn't letting Rick have that moment of peace. He starts to rush him so he can get his hatchet back. Now Negan then begins to shoot up the roof, and then right through that RV in order to motivate Rick. Rick then rushes for the quickest escape and jumps to the closest thing he can grasp. Now Rick ends up jumping for a zombie that's hanging by the neck off of a bridge and starts fighting for his life once again. He's holding on to the zombie for his dear life as Negan pops out of the back of the RV and starts blowing up the zombies to smithereens. Now Negan is showing Rick the trust factor, and to show him that Rick is dependent on Negan alone, and that Negan has Rick's back no matter what. He gets the hatchet back, gives it to Negan, They wind up heading home back to that unknown location where they all had that meetup. So there's a big confrontation as soon as they get back. Rick still, he's not ready for this. He's showing this look in his eye, and Negan is not convinced that Rick is under full submission yet. So he gives Rick one last test, tells Rick to cut Carl's arm off, makes another joke about it, and tells Rick that if he doesn't do this, then Rick's whole crew is going to get wasted. Now you understand what that hatchet represented. It was the final test. Rick's full submission and final initiation is about to apprehend, and now Negan starts the terms and how Rick and his crew is going to work for Negan, and Negan alone. Negan then leaves Rick and their team to clean up the mess, leaves them a truck to make sure they get all taken care of. You know, he's going to go ahead and supply them with basically whatever he needs them to do. So that sums up the whole episode, and this whole episode was basically surrounded by Rick's point of view and what type of character Negan is and what to look forward in the future. That's pretty much all that is. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Definitely going to cover a lot more Walking Dead material during the season and continuing on throughout the show, and any more videos that pop up. Make sure you hit that notification so you get my latest videos to your email. Definitely check it out, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I'm croweagleatwar, and I'll see you in the next video.